So my question is around choosing kindness, and am I doing this in a way? Well, I just want your feedback, I guess.
Yeah.
What I notice is that when I'm really identified with pain, like anger,
Yeah.
it basically means I'm unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't experience that I have access to seeing that I'm creating this in the present moment, or access to choosing kindness.
Right.
And what I've been doing is I've been using, when I can catch that I am in a reaction, I've been asking myself, how am I making me a victim right now? And what I notice is that brings me back from what I'm blaming or projecting out there to back to me. Yeah. And that creates a gap.
Yes. Great.
Gives me at least a little moment's space where possibly something else can happen. And I've really struggled with this, trying to be compassionate, or, I can't seem to make that movement.
Yeah.
Caught.
I'm so glad you brought this up. I think you probably have a little more to say, so I'm going to keep you on the line. But I just want to make a quick comment here, because it is so true, that you can, even without intending it, you can your mind starts to try to impose an idea of being compassionate or kind. And then your body's like sitting there going, I don't really feel it. I'm just not feeling it. All I'm feeling is I'm really pissed off right now. And I don't know where the compassion or the kindness is, but it's not here. And so it's really delicate, because your mind can be trying to sort of be the little good spiritual person that's kind and compassionate and all that. That's, of course, that's a projection, right? That's just an image we're trying to portray. What I'm really getting at, and I'm glad you mentioned this, is, like you said, sometimes if you get angry, you're triggered, and you're just really angry. You're pissed off. And part of accessing it, number one, is creating those little gap moments like you just talked about, And there's different things that can create that little gap, like, wow, look at how I'm victimizing myself right now. Look, how am I doing that? Or sometimes it's just the willingness to experience it, the upset for a moment. Can I be willing right now to really experience this? I know I'm already experiencing it, but can I really just be willing to experience this experience in a pure, direct way? Sometimes you have to be willing to experience what you're experiencing in a very direct way before you have access to anything else. I mean, authentic access, where it really feels real to you and vital to you, and not just some kind of put on where you're trying to be compassionate. So what helps you to connect with, your sense of reality, of gritty reality. That can create, because often when you're willing to experience something very purely and very openly, that can create a gap right there. That can sometimes create a gap. I'm willing to be really angry right now, and I'm just willing to sit here, and I'm willing to feel it. Sometimes that willingness itself will create the very gap you're talking about. Sometimes there's a little technique that you utilize, and sometimes you can connect with wisdom first. Like a deeper understanding about the anger, a deeper understanding of how you're unconsciously doing it to yourself. That's kind of the movement of wisdom. And out of that wisdom, out of that deep sort of seeing, can rise compassion or kindness can come out of that seeing. So real kindness, it requires a certain amount of consciousness before it can even really arise, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Adia. Yeah, and what I do see is I've been using the mind, you mentioned the spiritual stuff. I've been using the mind. I know that kindness is better.
Yeah.
And rationally I get that in the mind.
Yeah.
but actually that creates more conflict.
It does.
Because I'm at war with, I'm trying to impose, as you said, the kindness and all the stuff that I know is good on something isn't that way, and then it just takes me further away.
That's right. Sometimes a feeling or an emotion, no matter where it's come from, no matter what's generating it, sometimes what's really necessary is for you to just be there and completely experience it. And then you're not experiencing it from kindness, you're not experiencing it from upset, you're just being totally, actually, completely willing to experience it. Sometimes that's what your emotion needs. It needs that more than it needs you to even be kind towards it or to do anything. In fact, in many senses, you might even think of it as almost a prerequisite, that we have to just sort of, sometimes things just have to be felt. In
and when I hear you
deep
say
way.
that, I hear that invites or the possibility of a space for awareness or presence to arise.
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes, many times it does, because these emotions, these trapped old patterns, they're looking for release. And imagine, how is something going to be released if we're not really willing to experience it? On what avenue is it going to be released? Through which means, if we're really still not able or willing to, whether it's anger or it's fear or it's sadness or, whatever. So often we can feel actually really overwhelmed by these emotions. But strangely, we can be overwhelmed by something that we're struggling very hard not to experience. It's not that it's working very well, but as soon as we get rid of the part of us, or just through wisdom make a different decision and go, for right now, I think for the next 5 minutes, I'm just going to really experience this thing. And let this emotion at the level of, literally at the emotion of energy and sensation, not at the energy of story and narrative, but at the emotion of energy. Let this move through my system without acting on it and without trying to do anything about it. There's parts of it that just, they need nothing but that. That's why I say, in my sense, you can't make this into like the 10-step or 5-step or 3-step program, because each person, we all have our own unique quality to us, right? And we experience these things that are universal, but we experience them in our own unique way, and we have our own unique access to them. I'm kind of creating an atmosphere for what's unique to you to start to be able to come to the surface and be useful, be utilized.
Thank you very much, Adi. And it just brings another aspect to this. I just notice that with people like you, and I see how, in my world, how awake you are, so I tend to look at you for answers, sometimes forgetting that what you're saying is actually pointing me back to find it in me.
Yep, good.
And very much for that.
You're welcome. And I'm glad you're also hearing what I'm saying, because I am. That's the one thing that really underlies everything I do, is that I know the resource for everybody. The resource isn't in me, it's in them. That we have resources that we almost can't dream of. That we are something that is hard for us to even comprehend. Sometimes it takes a long road to even get to the point where we're willing to kind of go, yeah, maybe some things exist in me that I never even dreamed of. Sometimes just getting there is a long road, but it's really what everything I do is based on that understanding. The understanding is that people don't need me. What people need is themselves. They need to unlock the capacities within themselves. They don't need someone outside. They need what's inside of themselves. And I'm glad you brought it up, because that's an important part of every single thing that I teach. And sometimes it's the frustration people have, because another part of us wants someone to just go, just do this, this, and this, and it'll clear everything up for you. Sometimes it'd be nice if it worked that way, but it usually doesn't. You know, it requires our participation and our own creativity, which is why I liked where you started with your own version of what creates that gap for you. You see, what creates that gap for you, what comes to you is, that's more powerful than something I could tell you. That's what everybody has available to them.
Thank you very much. And I'm smiling because I feel such immense gratitude to you, and I see that needs to be applied to me also.
There you go. Include yourself in the circle. All right, my friend. Take good care.
Bye, beloved. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yeah, we do. We do have to include ourselves. And part of including ourselves is, it's a really kind of paradoxical way that this all works. It's like, to the extent that you accept, I don't mean accept in the sense of make excuses for and go unconscious, but to the extent that you really accept your humanity and at least relatively speaking, the imperfection of it and the frailty of it, the more you accept it, and really, I don't mean just accept it as an intellectual exercise, but I mean when you bring it into your heart. Bring that fragile little human thing into your heart, just the way it is. When you bring it into the embrace of your heart, the amazing thing is it doesn't then confine you. It doesn't confine you. It's not defining you. It's not confining you, but it's there. You know, and it finds great healing. And the human part of you also begins to unlock capacities that it didn't know it had. Even in all of its frailty, it has extraordinary capacities of love, of compassion, of wisdom, of embodiment that it would never even dreamed of. But to include the humanity within the embrace of your heart and the embrace of your kindness and the embrace of your compassion is extremely vital. And it takes humility because you are embracing it just the way it is. You're not embracing it the way it can become. The potential to become something much, much lovelier may be there, but that's not what you're embracing. You're embracing the way it is, right here, right now. Not because I said so, but because if you check into the deepest part of your nature, that dimension that is untouched, that's exactly what it's doing. It's embraced the humanity from the very beginning. It's already done it. You're just getting on board.